Dayna Pink, you're Emmy nominated for Outstanding Fantasy or Sci-Fi Costumes for Lovecraft Country. It's your first Emmy nomination and also your first series as a designer. And the show runs the gamut of styles and eras and locations, especially in the episode you're nominated for specifically, I Am. So was it especially meaningful to get this recognition for such a wide range of designs that you did?
Yeah, it definitely was. Um, the show was such an amazing experience to be able to be creative and add to the story that was being told from all different time periods and reality and fantasy and all of it. So just the idea that we got to create it was amazing, and then the fact that it's been so well received is a real bonus.
And the first season tells such a complete story that really holds up as a whole. But I'm sure it must be a little bit bittersweet since it was announced that there will not be a second season of Lovecraft Country. What were your thoughts about that?
Well, both things are true in that it makes me sad not to be able to go further in the story that was being told, but also there was nothing incomplete about it in some ways, like we created this amazing thing that was beyond anything that I could have imagined before. What Misha thought of was so incredible, and to be able to contribute to that and to be part of it was amazing. So as sad as I am not to do more of it, it doesn't take anything away from the experience that we all had, which was different than anything I've done before, and a real gift to me as an artist and as a person, and to be able to be part of that story that was being told and at that time to the world. Yeah, I can't be sad about that because it was really important.
And the episode "I Am" it centers a lot on Hippolyta, played by Anjanou Ellis, who is nominated for an Emmy as well. And she ends up traveling through time, and so the episode has different segments that take us to a different time period with her. What was the workflow like? With the costume department preparing costumes for each segment that are also so different.
I mean, to say we were covered in like hot glue and sequins and, all different kinds of stuff for that episode, just because it jumped around so much and there were big groups of people that we were doing. So it was, Anjanou and her journey, which was incredible to be able to help tell that story and have her show up to us so open and so like, what are we doing? And we're like, well, this is your outfit. It's just about this big. It was really fun and crazy. But then there's all the people, all the background actors that were there that we were also building dancing costumes for, and warriors, and we had spacesuits. We did it all, but we did most of it in-house. So making the big feather wings and all the feather outfits, we had a crew working till 3 a.m. the day we shot the dancing scene. Like, they did not sleep. They worked all night, showed up. We stood next to that stage, all holding chopstick, glue guns, whatever that it was, to keep it together. Because there was so much to do in that episode that it was a real feat. And when we finally got out there and we watched them shoot both the Dahomey warriors and the dancers in Paris, we couldn't believe that we did it. It was really just a moment, that we looked at each other and really felt like we had accomplished something, because it was a lot to do in a short period.
At the very beginning of Hippolyta's journey, she encounters this alien being who has this incredible metallic, glowing kind of a suit on. What was it like creating that? Was there visual effects incorporated into how that was created, and what was that like?
Yes, that was part us and part visual effects. We made a leather jumpsuit, and that was a work in progress. Everything changes, it all morphs. Nothing, I don't usually make something and then that's it, it's done. You just put it on the character and they walk up, as it's happening and we're doing fittings, and then you change it and you realize the sleeve could be better, a detail could be better. So you shift it. So that was definitely one of those things that we changed and shifted. And that actor was so lovely as well. Really fun. I think she came in and had no idea that we were going to go so crazy on her and build some crazy things. But that character was super fun to make and to shift and to morph.
And in both the Josephine Baker segments and the Dahomey Warrior segments, like these are scenes drawn from like real life people. Of course, Josephine Baker, the Dahomey Warriors were real. How much research went into that versus kind of the show also is about flights of fancy and very imaginative styles and designs. So what was that balance like?
Well, the beauty of this show in general was that we set out to honor the idea of all these things, but we were never bound to stick to the letter of them. So we did do research. We researched warriors, we researched Paris and dancers and Josephine Baker, of course, and even spacesuits. But then we're like, excuse me, what would our version be? Okay, that's what that was. That's what that was. But what do we want it to be? We had the room to make whatever we wanted. So we changed it and shifted it, and we built it all piece by piece by piece in, what do we want it to be now? So part of the beauty of that show for me was room to create and not be bound to have to follow someone else's idea or what something really was, because it's more about the spirit of what was happening. Those warriors were about being powerful and women and I don't know, strength. So what did we want to do to convey that? We didn't have to stick to even the color story that would have been at the time. We overdyed fabrics. We had overdyed some fabrics, and Misha said, go for it, brighter, brighter. So she let us really just run with it. And that was part of the gift of the show as well, was that we didn't have to do what was real. We got to go beyond what was real.
And those two segments also incorporate a lot of movement, the dance for Josephine Baker, the fighting in the Dahomey Warriors scenes. I imagine it must be different to design costumes with a lot of movement, a lot of physicality in mind. Like, what were those considerations?
I mean, hence the glue guns and top stick as everybody was standing by, because I'm not saying things don't fall apart. And then the bras had to come off at some point too, which was a whole other conversation. So yes, you definitely keep that in mind when you're building something. It's different than someone just coming in and working for a couple hours wearing an outfit. The dancing has to do with it. The fighting. We had soldiers. We had a lot of action happening in that episode, and it was definitely a consideration. But I think we found that space in between what we wanted it to be and what it needed to do. I think we did it.
And then you have Hippolyta and George traveling through space later towards the end of the episode. And, those designs are so whimsical. They have this retro feel. Where did the inspiration for those sort of spacesuits come from?
Well, we knew that it was a cartoon that Dee had drawn. So that's where we started. Like, what if it was a cartoon? What would it look like? So we took the idea of a spacesuit and then made it more childlike, made it something that would be kind of a fantasy. And then I knew about the orrery. So really early on, I was like, oh, her skirt is an orrery. And that's what I decided to make. That was my first idea about the whole outfit, was the orrery skirt. And it actually really worked. We just put all the planets all the way around, and it was really a fun thing to make.
And how did this episode compare to other episodes during the season in terms of just the sheer number of costumes that were required for it?
This was a big one. That episode was a big one. And it had a very wide breadth of periods and so many things. But they were all challenging. Everything, this whole show, it leapt, it had so many moving parts and so many periods. We didn't have one moment to, sort of relax. Oh, this is, I'm used to movies where like they're in the chase scene for 3 weeks, like, so this is not that at all. It was like, okay, what are you doing now? The moment that you're like, okay, we're great. 106, fine, we're good. And then like 107 shoots Monday. What? It was just really, was a whole, hamster wheel of running and running and running. And I loved every episode and every moment of it.
Well, I want to congratulate you for your work on the show, all the work you have coming up, your first Emmy nomination, and we'll bring you back a little bit later to talk with the entire group.